One of the greatest things about cigars, for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the smoking. It's the art. It's a story of how the cigar comes to be, how these blenders come up with these ideas. And every now and again, you learn something like the 109 cap. It's Eat, Drink, Smoke. I'm Tony Katz. That is America's favorite amateur drinker, Fingers Malloy, and this is the Crux Marblehead that we are smoking right here. This is the Toro, which is a 6x50, which means it's 6 inches long. Always makes Fingers Malloy laugh. And it is a 50 ring gauge. That's the diameter of the cigar or how thick it is around. Again, with the laughter. So a 64 ring gauge is a full 1 inch around. So 50, really easy, good mouthfeel, nice in the hand, really in the range of where we do like to be and find ourselves smoking most of the cigars, really in that 48 to 52. Of course, we'll try anything. What the heck is a Marblehead? So first, Crux, C-R-U-X, CruxCigars.com. They did this in 2014. And Marblehead refers to the cap, which is known as this 109 style cap, Cuban style cap, where it's a cross between your standard everyday kind of normal cap, rounded, and a bellicoso. So a bellicoso, think of like if you've seen a torpedo cigar, right? How it slowly works its way up to a point, but it's a little more rounded of a point. That's a bellicoso. This is a mix. So it's like they start the process and then they say, okay, we're done. We're good here. We're tired. It's time to take a break. And so it's flat on top and it's a little bit rounded and then the rest of the cigar. And that's why they call it the Marblehead. And so they did this as a cigar in 2014. Then they brought the cigar back. So this debuted at the Premium Cigar Association trade show in 2025. And then it got released and now it's in stores, I think, on the regular, and that's why I did it. I've got it for today. And Fingers loves this because the band is on the foot, and it just slides right off super easy.
Am I wrong? I know I've been nitpicky about this lately.
You've been angry and vicious and bitter about this lately.
Because, listen, a lot of times it feels like some cigar manufacturers will use industrial strength glue on their band, and they'll put it up towards the cap.
Right.
I can't tell you. I've taken to my father, Fingers Malloy Sr., twice to a cigar lounge, and both times he tried to get the band off of the cigar, and he ended up wrecking the wrapper up by the cap because it was hermetically sealed. And so...
like a young man trying to undo a bra for the first time. It's all so clumsy, and who really wants to smoke after that? Everybody's out of the mood.
Yeah, so Crux... excellent. If for any reason this band were a little too tight and the cigar wrapper did get damaged, at least it's down by the foot of the cigar.
So that's the positive. Now, this is an Ecuadorian habano wrapper. It's an Indonesian binder, Nicaraguan in the filler. Let me give you what I saw and what Fingers saw immediately as the negative here. This is nothing, this isn't about how the cigar smokes. I've never had it. We're about to find out. This is about this cap, this 109 style cap. Where the heck do I cut this thing? If I cut where it starts to kind of come up, I'm going to cut way too much. I'm going to feel like it's way too wide of a cut, right? It's not shallow enough, and I'm missing out on cigar. But if I only cut where it flattens out, it seems like there's going to be a terrible draw. This is a weird cap. I understand that there's a history here and that something you've done before, and this Cuban style, the 109. But I got to tell you, this doesn't make any sense to me.
So I used a cigar cutter that's got the little guard in back to make sure you don't overdo it on your first cut. So I want you to put your cigar up by the camera. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see. And where I ended up cutting it, which really is not a deep cut at all. You would agree, right, Tony, by looking at that?
No, not at all. It's not only very shallow, but it so tapers in that I almost think this is a V-cut kind of cigar. And then I realized I don't even know where my V-cutter is. I don't know if I still have a V-cutter.
What happened?
I don't know. I used to have one years ago. Now it's like, and my youth, my V-cutter and my youth, they're both very missing.
You know what? That is one of the reasons why I struggle with spending a lot of money on a cutter. Of course, you want a good cutter to make a nice, clean cut on your cigar. But, man, it's like expensive sunglasses for me. I'll set them down somewhere. We're out and about. I set down my cutter. I leave. Next thing you know, somebody found a new cutter.
I use a V-cutter so rarely. Spend your money on cutters. Spend your money on humidors, not on lighters. You want one collectible, fine. After that, what are we doing? It's fire, people. It's just fire. But the cutter matters because you can ruin your cigar.
Yeah.
That's my take.
So my cut is pretty shallow.
Yeah.
And so far, I have to say, because I was skeptical about this cap too, I've got a really nice draw on this.
I mean, you're like really like.
Do you want to use this?
No, I'm gonna use I'm gonna as I talk about cutters, I'm gonna use my Opus X Society military $275 cutter. I had a gift card. All right, it was a gift, and I said thank you, and I bought 2 of these. All right, one of them I didn't have. I have a problem. You shut up! Don't you lecture to me. Tell me how this goes. All right, I'm cutting this. You started smoking. This is the Crux Marblehead. So Ecuadorian Habano, we couldn't find much on this cigar. As we said, released 2025 at the PCA, which is the big trade show. And now just getting into cigar lounges as I've now just seen it for the first time. Talk to me about what you're getting off this. Habano, I'm sorry if I could pronounce things. I would assume there's some spice hit.
I'm surprised at how little spice there is. There's a little bit of spice right off the bat, but again, I lit this maybe 5 minutes ago. Initially, the first note that I got was a nice bit of wood, and then the spice kind of came in from behind. It is so far smoking wonderfully. Only a wood note with a little bit of spice. I'm sure that spice is going to pick up in intensity as I move through the first third of the cigar. But that's where I'm at right now. And again, the draw is nice. The hand feel is fantastic. Maybe a little light.
Maybe a little light. I'm absolutely with you. And it could use just a touch more heft. This is the Crux Marblehead that we are smoking. CRUX, cruxcigars.com. This is the Toro, the 6x50. All right, I cut a little deeper than you, I would say. And I'm just lighting right now. So entertain the people.
Well, I've said this many times, Tony. I've either said when we're talking about life in general, live, laugh, and love. And the other thing I say is the first cut is the deepest.
I can't even picture the song, but I could sing it.
I know the Sheryl Crow.
That's the one I was going with.
I think that's a remake.
Well, if she remade it, it must be right.
I think it was by Gary Glitter, the original.
Ah, look at you.
I just made that up.
I know you did.
I just wanted to say Gary Glitter.
That is a very nice off the quick. I don't know if that's wood.
Really?
I'm a little leathery in that. There's a little bit of saddle going on there. There's all right, maybe that is a little bit of wood. Maybe that's what that is underneath. That is a very you're right. Not spice on the front. Not for me in zero way. That is a very pretty, a little bit of richness flavor that is hitting the tongue, not necessarily in the cheek, but the tongue and the roof of the palate.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard you reference that's not saddle in all the time we've done this show. And that's actually a good pull.
Right? That it's saddle, that's the flavor?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dumb because I would see saddle is different than leather, but we'll get into more of that. Keep it here. This is Eat, Drink, Smoke. Dear Lord, another recall. I'm telling you, it's not you and me. It's not us, Eat, Drink, Smoke Nation. There are a lot of recalls. This is getting silly.
The show should be called Eat, Drink, Smoke Recall.
It should not.
Oh.
It should be called Total Recall. Because that's very original.
Titled by Philip Glass. I don't know.
It's Eat, Drink, Smoke. I'm Tony Katz. That's America's favorite amateur drinker, Fingers Malloy. Now, sometimes the recalls are just dumb. A recall at Costco for butter because it doesn't say may contain milk, which I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear you complaining. Just it's butter.
Or the recall we did last week or 2 weeks ago. Sometimes you have to be warned that peanut M&Ms have peanuts in them.
Right. That's not a recall. That's a reminder when you didn't figure it out from peanut M&M. This one's serious. 3 million pounds of frozen food for potential glass contamination. This comes from the USDA, from the Food Safety Inspection Service, which is known as the FSIS, or FSS. Frozen chicken fried rice in the U.S. and Canada from Ajinomoto Foods. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it, right? Ajinomoto. Their yakitori chicken with Japanese-style fried rice and Trader Joe's chicken fried rice. So they could be contaminated with glass. This goes back to 2025. Oh, dang, really? This was produced between September and November of 2025.
But it's frozen. So people throw it in the freezer, forget about it until they're in a jam, they need a quick meal.
You got to go look. We'll post this over at eatdrinksmokeshow.com. As a matter of fact, do it right now. Post it. He's pretending. We will get it posted. Yeah, that's serious stuff. It has the establishment number on it, letter P as in P. Tee.
Oh, tee.
Thank you.
Sorry.
P18356. That's inside the USDA mark of inspection. And you get more at the USDA's website. Good Lord.
That terrifies me more than an ingredient that shouldn't be in it that is actually food or spice.
Yeah. Oh, no. I agree. The idea that the butter has to be recalled because they didn't put a label on it is too stupid for words. This is really dangerous. I was trying to figure out from the article, do we know how it happened? And the answer is not there. But they got 4 customer complaints, people finding glass in the fried rice. So it's very possible at the time of this being posted, they don't even know how it got in there.
Thank God they found it. How big were these shards of glass that people were able to see them in fried rice?
Right, because it's got flavorings and everything else. So and you're not looking for it. You're just heating and then eating while you're watching whatever it is you're doom scrolling on your phone.
Good Lord. Apparently, I would think we would know by now if there were any injuries as a result of consuming this. Apparently, the pieces of glass were so large that consumers were able to pick them out of the frying pan or the air fryer.
They put this in a microwave.
What?
I will bet you anything they put it in a microwave. Anything. Any amount of money you want to spend.
I always put my frozen rice right in a wok because that's me.
Right. Because nothing says I'm traditional like putting frozen rice in a wok.
Yes. You're ridiculous. You should see my taco night.
Then we move on to prime rib, which is prime rib worth the time? Is prime rib worth the money?
I love prime rib. I absolutely adore it. I was going back over some old photos with some friends and showed them remember when we went to that Nebraska?
801, it was in Iowa, 801 Chop House, which I still will say is amongst the finest steakhouses in all of America.
And they had some ridiculously large cut of prime rib that I wasn't going to get, but then Tony dared me, said, you got to order this prime rib. And I'm like, oh, gosh, no, I don't want to do that. And he said, I'm buying. And I said, give me 2. This slab of prime rib had to have been the size of my torso.
Well, this is from tastingtable.com, and that if you want a tastier prime rib, put it in the smoker.
You and I have talked about this because occasionally you do this. Do you think prime rib is worth the money, and do you enjoy prime rib?
I don't. Maybe. Sure. Nah. I guess.
I've seen you order prime rib before.
I like prime rib. When we were at Hugo Cellar. Mm-hmm. Get the prime rib. I don't know if I want the smoke flavor on a prime rib. So that's so I use a Traeger, as people know, and we can argue that's a little bit of cheating. And I'll say, you've never tasted my brisket. I'll cheat all I can. I will cheat so bad you can call me the Bernie Madoff of smoking meat. That's right.
Wow.
That was what? Too soon? No?
I lost money on that.
Yeah. You and Kevin Bacon. A lot of people lost money on Bernie Madoff. But a smoker, the Traeger cannot make a steak. I don't care what Traeger says. I don't want to hear it. You guys make a brilliant product. I would get another Traeger. It cannot make a steak. End of list. Or at least the one I have can. Maybe you've got some new models that can. Maybe you should bring some over and we can test them. That's why I got a grill. It's not the same. It just is not the same. And I want what the oven has to offer in this regard. Now, could I see taking a prime rib? Is there something you could do with the grill and some kind of finishing off onto the crust? Again, I'm not there. If I'm going to do it, I want that classical part of it. I want the oven. So the idea of smoke throws off what I expect as a flavor, and I can't find myself gravitating towards it.
Here's the problem with this is because prime rib is so expensive, that's a hard thing to experiment with. If you've figured out a way that works best for you to make prime rib, it's hard to go ahead and make the investment and say, let me try something different for a change.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's a way to live. I don't think that's a way to live. I think it's a terrible way to think. And I know people who don't go forward with briskets because it's a lot of money, and what if they do it wrong? And the answer is, how do you ever expect to do it right? You got to be willing to risk. And for the record, nothing's ever wasted. That's why God made chili. And that's the answer. Tacos, you're cutting it up smaller and you flavor it up. You're still going to use it. It's not a waste. You have to try.
Let's go back to the steak conversation briefly. You've never done a reverse sear where you have brought the steak to almost the correct temperature in the Traeger and then finished it off on the grill to get the sear?
No, I don't like that idea. I don't want any smoke in the steak. That's the issue. And so it could be that some people really love that. I tried it a couple times. I thought it was just, it ruined the steak for me.
Wow.
It totally did.
So you wouldn't like a steak that I cooked on my reverse or my gravity fed series?
I don't know because I don't know what the flavor you'd get out of it. Is it a smoke flavor or is it
smoke / charcoal?
Well, why don't you make me a steak and then we'll figure it out.
We'll do that.
I'm right here.
Okay, right now.
I'm waiting. Let's eat, drink, smoke. Eat, drink, smoke. It is your cigar bourbon foodie extravaganza. I'm Tony Katz. That is America's favorite amateur drinker, Fingers Malloy. We are smoking the Crux Marblehead, a 6x50. Marblehead refers to the cap design based on the 109 cap, a traditional cap, where you start creating this kind of mix between a regular round cap and a bellicoso and just flatten out the top. The Marblehead is what they call it, with the Ecuadorian habano wrapper, Indonesian in the binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. No, I'm not getting a big spice, but there is I almost want to go a little bit herbal. I talked about it like a saddle rich going on there. And the way we were discussing it during the break is the difference between leather and saddle is the difference between that old leather chair that Winston Churchill sat on or your grandpa had in the living room and that new car smell leather. That's maybe that's how we're saying it. I very much like how there's a distinguishing there. I also think leather has by nature a little bit of spice to it. This does not ride in the cheek. This is not an overwhelming flavor that way. But on the tongue, on the top of the palate, it is brighter than other cigars, and it is playing in a very, very interesting way for me.
For me, it is a nice balance between I'm getting more of a wood than a leather, and that spice. That spice is there, but it's not something that's overwhelming. It's not as spicy as I thought it was going to be. But I don't mean to take out my jump to conclusions, Matt, Tony.
But if you were?
If I were, I'm only into the second third of this cigar. If I were going to start coming up with cigars for a list, this may be
really?
Yes.
Even though this first of all, this is playing towards full. This is more than a medium. I would go, that would be me. This cigar, there is actually quite a bit happening. And what's crazy, and where did I find the story? There was a site I had never seen before as I was searching up this cigar. And
MySpace?
It was not MySpace. It was not. Tom did not do this. Okay. It was a site called Gentlemen's with a plural, pursuits.com.
Nice.
Gentlemenspursuits.com. And here's how they wrote about it. Crux Cigars, C-R-U-X, cruxcigars.com, rolls out budget-friendly Marblehead line. This cigar, Fingers Malloy, 6x50, $8 a stick.
And that's why I said it may end up on a list, because I have enjoyed this. It's got a nice flavor profile, and at $8 a stick, fantastic value. If this spice stays where it is and doesn't pick up, to me, this could be, for me anyway, an everyday smoke.
Because when you're talking about a habano, you have the opportunity to really get big, really get bold with the spice and play in a whole bunch of peppers that may not work for you, right? Depending on the stick. So if this is going to stay aware on the palate, but not overwhelming, and I'm with you there. I spice is solid, right? Whether you're talking about red pepper, white pepper, black pepper, and they are different things. A little more richness, I would say black pepper. A little more bouncing, white pepper. A little more intensity, red pepper, right? And it's not surprising to have a tobacco leaf, go in these directions. But when you see a cigar that they refer to as a pepper bomb, count me out. That's too much. It's too overwhelming. It's not where I want to be. It's not the flavor profile that I like. This is a pretty well crafted piece for under $10. There is a real amount of flavor happening and moving, by the way, from that bit of leather within that spice range and kind of oscillating back and forth, which is a pleasure. And I will admit, I'm having a little bit of light problem with mine. You're not having any problem with you.
No.
I'm finishing up the cold. So it still could be with a little bit of just some no stuffiness, which is not like it was last week. Much better. So it could be that, and that's where I'm going to put the blame. But for under $10, I don't know yet if it's on a list. But for under $10, is this something that you're buying by the bundle? Because they sell it by the bundle, by a 20. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. Grab a couple friends, split it. 4 friends, 5 cigars each. Smoke them a couple times, find out for yourself.
If this stays the way it is as far as the spice flavor profile, to me, this is something you could hand to anybody.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
Even though you said it's leaning towards full.
I still give it to anybody. It absolutely is leaning towards full in my book. It doesn't mean that you can't try it. Also, if you've first time having the cigar, grab your notebook. What did you eat today? What did you drink today? We had nice weather in Indianapolis. That's where we've come from. We then had snow over the weekend. There's storms in the Northeast. I never want to minimize what some people are going through there. So the weather will affect your palate. What did you eat today? What did you drink today? All those kinds of things affect your palate. You want to write that down. And then break the cigar up into thirds. First third, second third, final third, right? Of the cigar. The first third starting on the foot where you light it, ending with the final third, the cap where you're smoking from. Then write down the flavors. What are you getting from each third? Doesn't matter how esoteric or base it is. Then when you try that cigar a month from now or 6 months from now, you do it again, you compare your notes, get your through line. What are the flavors that you got again, that you got the first time? That's what you get out of that cigar. That's what you're getting from that wrapper, binder, and filler. Then you can maybe go about finding cigars that maybe match a profile that you like.
Yeah.
But it's time, Fingers Malloy, for news of the week. What? Don't. He started with a sigh. You didn't even say, no one said anything yet. You're already like, oh, it all sucks. Come on.
No, you
are Johnny Good News.
This is another story that breaks my heart. Last week, we talked about how Coca-Cola announced that they were going to drop the Minute Maid frozen concentrate product line entirely, which was a part of my youth.
So no more frozen orange juice, no more frozen lemonade.
Another part of my youth, apparently, is on life support and almost dead. The Street is reporting that Sears, which in its heyday had over 3,000 brick and mortar locations, is now going to be cut down to just 5 locations. And Sears, my goodness, I can think back to when I was just a young Fingers Malloy, Digit Malloy. Back in that day, going through the Sears catalog and making my Christmas card or my Christmas gift list and how I wanted something like a Merlin, electronic football game, things like that. And Sears used to send out catalogs for you kids under the age of 40 where you would thumb through and look through what Sears had to offer. And you go to Sears and they would have the Craftsman tools right next to the candy counter where you could get all sorts of different treats, down to 5 locations, Tony.
The most shocking thing about this story, Sears still has locations. I had no clue. I had absolutely no idea they still had locations. Do we know?
We don't know where they are.
Apparently,
Sears may not even know where they are. But it's sad to me because, here we go. The Sears locations that are still open are in Coral Gables, Florida, Orlando, Braintree, Massachusetts, Concord, California, and El Paso, Texas.
Well, the answer is road trip.
You don't have to twist my arm in this weather to make a road trip down to Florida to go to a Sears. I would do that in a heartbeat.
You know, it's the dumbest thing that's ever been suggested.
Any excuse to get out of 30-degree weather to go down to Florida is not dumb.
What do you think Sears still sells?
Mattresses and sport coats.
Seriously, like where... The brand wasn't purchased by like a Kohl's or somebody else along the line.
Well, what's interesting is I wonder, because Craftsman has been, I believe, sold twice. I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Lowe's owns Craftsman now.
That's right, Sears is Craftsman, which is a real line. I mean, that's solid stuff.
I wonder if they even sell Craftsman anymore.
I think that got sold off.
If they sell candy, that's reason alone to go down to Florida. You can't just get good candy anywhere.
Sears sold candy?
They had a candy counter. You could buy bulk candy, and they'd have popcorn.
Popcorn, I remember.
Yeah, candy.
Popcorn, I remember.
Oh.
Right there on Route 35 and, what was that? I forget the Kings Highway in Middletown, New Jersey. The Sears.
Middletown.
That's where I grew up.
Oh.
Middletown, New Jersey. They don't even have a statue to me yet, but that's coming soon. Eat, drink, smoke. Everybody knows by now that in addition to the work we do at Eat, Drink, Smoke and our individual radio shows, Fingers Malloy heard in Michigan, me, a morning host in Indianapolis, and nationally syndicated in the midday. In addition to all the other radio work we do, Fingers Malloy and I are relationship experts.
It's true.
Nay, gurus.
Absolutely.
Correct.
We've often thought about releasing a relationship type advice show, and we're going to call it Romance Lines.
Oh, I was going to call it Dear Abby. It's Eat, Drink, Smoke. I'm Tony Katz. That's America's favorite amateur drinker, Fingers Malloy. Find our books, Let's Go Bourbon and Let's Go BBQ, Let's Go Barbecue, available at Amazon.com. Get those today. They're there. Quantities are not limited. Let's Go Bourbon, Stop It Fingers, and Let's Go BBQ, recipes, tips, and tales from the pit. Amazon.com. Just search for Eat, Drink, Smoke, and you will find it. I would gladly do a relationship show. I forgot to mention, of course, you are also known as a fitness influencer, and you are an expert at monitoring social media outrage.
That's true. Some call me a fitness guru.
That's what they call you. This was from CNBC. I'm a psychologist who studies couples. People in the happiest relationships do 7 things on weeknights that most neglect.
Do you think it's a little creepy that there's someone out there that says I specifically study couples?
Well, it's creepy if they do it from a van.
Fair enough.
Outside your house.
Fair enough.
If those couples don't know they're being studied, then yes, it's creepy. So here are now Fingers and I being experts, we're going to break down this list and determine whether or not this a so-called psychologist, wink wink, is on the up and up. So let's start with. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's start with couples start with decompression time. Healthy couples build in 15 to 30 minutes of guilt-free alone time for each partner. One decompresses while the other handles a light task, then they switch. Why does anybody have to handle a task? What is this? But as a concept, absolutely. The spouse walks in the door and then they get overwhelmed with, you won't believe this, and oh my gosh, that, and let me tell you about this. No. Bad idea. Terrible idea. Of course you need time to take a breath.
You mentioned how I like to monitor social media outrage.
And you do it better than almost anybody.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The amount of videos I see on social media from a male perspective talking about coming home from work and pulling into the driveway and for 5 or 10 minutes just sitting in the car before they go in, not because they don't love their wife, they don't love their family, but the drive home is not a time for decompression. It is, you're dealing with traffic and you're thinking about what happened at work that day. For a lot of men, they feel like they need that 5 minutes before they go in to decompress and just kind of relax before they enter the other phase of their day. That seems reasonable. This whole, well, we have a list of tasks and one partner needs to do the task while the other person decompresses, and then you do some sort of weird tag team where you say, okay, now you're it, and then you go do task while I decompress. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. No light task has to be done. It's okay to have 20 minutes of no tasks. It's fine. It's acceptable. Relax. Relax. You know, the idea of, if we talk about it in the old-fashioned way, the man comes home from work. He's got his briefcase or he's got his lunch pail and the drink's waiting for him, right? The very concept of that might seem outrageously old-fashioned. So take it out of that, where you might actually have an old-fashioned waiting for you, and bring it into today's world. First of all, nothing wrong with making your partner a drink. Nothing wrong with that. But the idea of just a moment to breathe and to rest and to readjust is good. Why wouldn't we want that for the people we love?
I feel like that, what you just laid out, has been replaced by sitting in your car for 10 minutes before you go in.
I hear what you're saying. I think that's sad. I think that's sad because you look at being in the house as the drudgery, like it's another job, and it shouldn't be. That's the part that drives me nuts.
But I think it goes back to what you mentioned earlier about you open the door and say you do have your partner, because it doesn't have to be a woman at home staying home while the man works. It could be vice versa. Stay-at-home dad and the mom goes out to work. When they are home all day, if you're fortunate enough to be a one-income family, they're so happy to have an adult in the house to where they can immediately have a conversation, that they immediately launch into things that the person coming home isn't ready for. So they're like, oh, okay, I just need 5 minutes of listening to whatever I want to listen to on the radio, or just have everything off, meditate, for crying out loud, before I go into the house. You may think that's sad. It may be necessary for some people.
Yeah, but the fact that they can't have it in their own home, that's a lack of communication, and I don't think people should live like that.
Well, but that is a hard conversation to have with your significant other. Hey, listen, I need 10 minutes of not talking to me when I walk into the house, or 5 minutes. I just need a moment to not have all the problems at work, then come home and immediately have to address problems in the household.
And so why can't you say I need 10 minutes?
Because people are cowards.
Good to be home. Love you. 10 minutes. Why wouldn't a spouse want to give that to their spouse? You hate them so much they can't have 10 minutes? They haven't earned 10 minutes? They don't deserve 10 minutes? What kind of spouse? But male or female? What kind of spouse is this?
Because I'm sure the reaction for someone who may be a little reactionary would be, oh, you need 10 minutes? I haven't had 10 minutes all day.
So you haven't had 10 minutes all day. Now you're going to attack me for it?
Why do we always fight?
We're not fighting. I need you to understand what it is that I need and for this to work. And if you can't offer me 10 minutes where I could then offer you an hour, I don't know what we're doing here. I should have married your sister.
She's quite a bit older than you.
Well, she knew at least how to give me 10 minutes.
Did she?
And then I was more than happy to give her an hour.
There it is.
It's all in how you say it. It really is. Then there is this. They silent sink when they're drained. And at that moment, I hate this article. Some nights, even after a decompression session, see, it's not a session. Oh, forget it. You may still feel drained. Happy couples don't force it. They start their evening together, but quietly, sitting on the balcony, lying side by side, taking a slow walk.
On the balcony?
I don't understand. Where are they laying side by side? outside in the yard hoping for sweet death to come? Where are they? What are
the
they?
Sweet angel of death to come down and kiss him on the forehead?
The SMOD?
I think there's something to this, though, because there are people, and fortunately, I'm not involved in something like this. They can't just sit for 10 minutes without opening their mouths.
That's true.
There's something very comforting when you find someone that you can just sit on a couch for 10 minutes. And I'm not talking about both of you doom scrolling at the same time on your phone, just sitting back and not having to say a word.
Now, that's true. People are deathly afraid of silence. They're incapable of handling silence. Silence is not necessarily indicative of a problem. Silence is okay. I have spoken with people who they've said clearly, it's not that we have to always be talking to each other. We just want to know that we're around each other. That's the connection part. And then the talking, of course, comes and other things come, but it doesn't have to be talking all the time, and it doesn't have to be.
But if you're sitting in the same room, how do you not recognize that there's someone close to you?
You do, but it doesn't have to immediately, it doesn't have to be agenda driven.
Yeah.
Right?
For me, I'm not like that because I'm a chatty Cathy and like to talk to everybody. That's me.
I'm sorry, you what now?
I'm a chatty Cathy.
Is that what you are?
And I like to talk to everybody.
Okay.
Can't get enough conversation, especially small talk.
This list, are we going to post this list? Or
well, I get all my relationship advice from CNBC.com.
They know. Yeah, that's smart. Also, you cuddle before sleep, which some people call it cuddling, but some of us are better at it. Eat, Drink, Smoke.
Follow Eat, Drink, Smoke on social media, on Twitter @GoEatDrinkSmoke, on Facebook, facebook.com/EatDrinkSmoke, and Instagram @EatDrinkSmokePodcast. Hey, you made it all the way through to the end of this video. We're proud of you.
You should watch more of our videos. Make sure you subscribe right there to Eat, Drink, Smoke, wherever it is you get your videos, on YouTube, on Rumble, and don't forget Instagram, Eat, Drink, Smoke Podcast, where we've got the shorts and some very cool things going on.